Dorian loves helping to film, not only because he just likes to be a part of everything that I do, but because then I take books off of my bookcase and he gets to try to jump up in the little cubes that it creates, right? So don't bother with these. These have been sitting here for, I don't even know how long, just waiting for me to hang them up. But I lost my hammer in the move. So I hung up those posters back there with a wrench. Like, I literally used a wrench as a hammer, and it didn't work spectacularly, as I'm sure you can imagine. So I need to just buy a new hammer, quite frankly, and I just haven't yet. So those are just kind of sitting back there. We're here with the mid-year book tag. I don't know how we're already in June, or like mid-June by the time that like this is happening, because I don't know where summer has gone already. I don't know where this entire year has gone. I've talked about this already in like TBR videos. I feel like this year has flown by, and I do think part of it has to do with me always being on a deadline and always having like a project now that I'm working on. But especially I feel like this year has just really, really flown by. But I'm excited to get into this tag. I've done it, I think, the past like 3 years. I think honestly the questions like have never changed. I mean, I haven't looked back and like rewatched my old ones, but I'm pretty sure they're still like the same ones. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump right on in. So first up is the best sequel of 2024. So granted, I picked two for this because I picked one that like actually came out this year, and then I picked one that just like I personally read this year. Because here's the thing, if y'all are new here, I don't tend to read new releases. Like I'm just really bad about like keeping on top of new releases and new release schedules. So a lot of the times I end up reading books kind of late to the game. So for the one that I actually picked though, that came out this year and that I read right away, I literally read it the second I was at Target. The moment it came out, I had to actually ask a worker to go out in the back and grab it for me. And that is Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadow. This is the third book in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. And this is, in my opinion, I love this sequel. So I know there have been a lot of mixed feelings on it, you know, totally valid, because I still have my things that I don't love about it. But this is the third book, and I have an entire reading vlog, so you can go and watch that with my full thoughts and spoilers in it. I won't spoil anything in here. But I personally really, really enjoyed this book, okay? I had a great time with it. There are so many moments that I really, truly loved. There were also moments, specifically with Bryce's character, that I still, like, am not the biggest fan of how some of those things went down. But I, overall, loved the hell out of this book. I was not the biggest fan of Sky and Breath, and when I say biggest fan, I say I still gave it 4 stars because I just love these universes. But I will say House of Sky and Breath was not my favorite. So I was really happy with this one. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great sequel. But then the other sequel that, so technically I didn't like read this, and honestly doesn't really even count as a sequel because it's like, it's actually not even following the same characters. Screw it, I'm including it anyways. King of Pride by Anna Huang. I'll just like gloss over this one pretty quickly then. But this is the second book in her Kings of Sin series, and this one actually came out last year, but I did not get around to reading it last year. I just finally read it this year, and I absolutely loved it. I love Anna Huang's books, like the Twisted series are some of my all-time favorites, and King of Pride I would say I loved just as much as most of those. So I mean, still nothing can top Twisted Hate. That is just a god tier book forever and always. But I loved this, and I thought it was like a great sequel, even though it's obviously an interconnected standalone, so like it doesn't technically, I think, count. I didn't really realize that until I sat down and actually was like kind of thinking through it here, but you know, whatever. This is my video, I can do what I want. Next up, I have a new release I haven't read yet, and surprisingly enough, Pirate Girls by Penelope Douglas. I still have not read this. So back when this came out, I was not in the mood, and then I was like, I don't want to force it because Penelope Douglas is my favorite author, and I want to give every single book complete and utter justice. So I have not read this one yet. It is the second book in the Hellbent series, and it's a spin-off of the Fallaway series. I have read every single other Penelope Douglas book. I love their books with my entire heart and soul, and I'm really excited to get into this one because it's the second generation series, and I'm really excited about these characters. And actually, I started it, I think I'm like 10% in, but then I got caught up in Legacy of Gods, and I haven't stopped. I haven't stopped with my Rena Kent binge, so this has kind of gotten brushed to the side a little bit, but I will for sure be finishing this year. But this is a new release that I haven't read yet. I think it came out, so what, it's June now. Did it come back at like the end of April, I want to say? And yeah, have not gotten around to it yet, but I have all intentions to get to it still. Next up, most anticipated release for the second half of 2024. So I obviously only really read indie books. I'd say I maybe read like 2% of books that are like traditionally published, maybe a little bit more now that like the Kings of Sin series is technically traditionally published now, so maybe more like 5%. But with that said, indie authors don't typically announce their releases like super far in advance. So one that I know of that is at least coming, I think at the end of July, right? Is that what QB just said? Is Our Little Secret by QB Tyler. So this is technically like the third book in the like secret series. The Worst Kept Secret and The Season of Secrets are the first two. All like standalone, like you wouldn't need to read those in order to read this one, but this one is going to be following the best friend of the hero from The Season of Secrets and his employee. No, I don't think she's an employee. Or no, is it a workplace romance? I honestly don't even remember, but I remember like the chemistry of these two, like the two characters, they are side characters, or you just see like glimpses of them in The Season of Secrets, and I remember being like, I want their book, like that would be great. And QB delivered, and I cannot wait for this one. I will be so excited to read it the moment it drops. Okay, biggest disappointment. So obviously, since I have transitioned into writing, I don't talk about books on my channel anymore that I wouldn't recommend and that I don't love, because I can't get on here and just like bash other writers' work, right? Like that's not like a good thing to do. So I only talk about books now that I would recommend to you guys, but I will say I have had quite a few disappointments this year. I just haven't talked about them. So you might be like, does she like every book that she reads? Absolutely not. I would say there are probably maybe like 10 books that I've read this year that I haven't talked about on my channel because, like I said, I wouldn't recommend them and I don't want to talk about them. I also have had like 5 DNFs so far this year as well, which again, I don't talk about those because I don't know that some people like miss that. And honestly, I kind of miss like rage reading because I used to have a lot of fun rage reading books to then just get to come on here and not like to come on here and complain, but it's more just like I kind of liked finishing. I just always like, I never DNF'd books because I always felt the need to finish them even if I didn't like them. But there's also like a freedom now that I have in that if I don't like a book, I literally do just put it down because I'm like, it's not even like I can talk about it on my channel. Like I used to always want to finish a book so that way I could give my full and complete opinion on something, where now it's like I'm not even going to talk about it anyways, so like what's the point? So I do DNF a lot more now. And I will say, yeah, I have like 10 books that I have read that I have not liked, and one of them was like a disappointment because I like was expecting to like it and I didn't, but obviously I just don't share that in videos. Yeah, but I think like everyone has books that they don't like that's fair. On the flip side of that, biggest surprise, which this one is a biggest surprise not because I thought that I wouldn't like it, but because I had not heard anyone talk about this book and I had not read anything from this author before, and it completely blew me away, and that is Shattered Obsession by Tina Spencer. So this is a dark brother's best friend hockey romance. So like I hear all those tropes and I'm sold, right? So I actually saw someone unboxing a PR box with this book in it. Like they hadn't read it or anything, they were literally just sharing the PR box. And when I saw that book, I was like, that sounds amazing. So I read the synopsis and I was like, I'm gonna pick this up and read it. And I think maybe because I went in with like zero preconceived notions whatsoever about this book, this author, this writing style, whatever, I fell in love with everything. I fell in love with the writing. I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the story. I love this entire book. This is in the running for being like a top 10 book for me for the year. This honestly could have been a top book of the month if I hadn't had read Legacy of Gods, which we'll get into that month as well. But I truly, truly loved this book and I was just so surprised by it. I think because I had zero expectations going into it just because it was a new to me author. I really didn't know what to expect and I was completely blown away. So much so that I literally had to message Tina Spencer on Instagram because I was like, it also ends on a cliffhanger and I was like, I'm so gagged. I'm so ready for book 2. And I was like, this was just phenomenal. And I just felt the need to tell her that. And like, I just loved it so much. So I talked about it a lot on my channel already. You guys need to go and read it. Obviously check your triggers. It is darker at points. It was definitely, I'd say, like my biggest surprise this year so far. New favorite author. Okay, so I was looking and honestly, like, I don't think I've read many authors this year that I've like then jumped into a ton of their backlists for, but I have 3 that I'm going to talk about, and technically one of them is kind of cheating a little bit, but I'm going to talk about Irina Kent. So I read the first 3 Royal Elites books back when they were like being published. So I think that was back in like the end of 2020, early 2021 or something. I read those 3 books and I loved them. I gave them all 5 stars, I think, looking back on them. And I loved those, but then I just like got distracted by other books, other series, whatever, and I never finished that series, nor did I pick up any more of her books over the years, just because once again, I got distracted, just didn't really think of them, whatever. And then it wasn't until this year then when I started the Legacy of God series again that then I am fully back on her, and like she has quickly become one of my all-time favorite authors, and now I'm like binging the hell out of her backlist. So like technically, is she a new author to me this year? No, I've read 3 of her books previously, but that was also like 3 years ago at this point, 3 or 4 years ago at this point. So it almost feels like new. So I'm including her on here because by far she is the author so far this year that I'm like binging the most of her books from. Other ones on here are michaemarieauthor. So I read one of her books this year and was blown away by the writing of it, and I want to read more of her backlist. So again, I'm adding her to this list. And then the third one is Tina Spencer, the one that I was just talking about with Shattered Obsession, because once again, I don't think she has a huge backlist. I think she maybe only has one other book, and then Shattered Hearts comes out at the end of this month, which is part 2 of that duet. I don't care. I will be reading anything that she wants to write now. Like, I'm not even joking when I'm saying like that I'm so obsessed with Shattered Obsession. So I'm going to keep going with her books as well. So I would say those are the 3 authors that are ones now that are, I'm kind of adding to my radar, being ones that it's like, I'm always going to be eyeing up whatever they're like releasing. Next up, book that made you cry. So I have 2. I honestly don't think I've really like cried that much in books these years. Obviously, yes, I did. I think I cried in this one, right? I think so. Honestly, I can't, there's none that I've been like sobbing, where like I've had some of those before, but I think I cried in House of Flame and Shadow. But the 2 that I like distinctly remember crying in are When the Stars Fall by Emery Rose. So this one I did for a reading blog where it was like some booktubers pick other people's books, and Sam from Sam Reads Little picked this one for me, and it's a second chance one. And I remember it was the middle section of this book that just like wrecked me, because it's like following this couple when they were kids growing up and kind of like being together like high school, and then this middle chunk, and then them back together and like way into adulthood. And just let me tell you, the middle part of this book hurt me, because our hero in this one is hurting so bad, and to see our heroine love him so much and know that like if love was enough, if love was enough, it would be enough for the 2 of them. But seeing everything else that he is struggling with, and then in turn that like he kind of ends up taking out on her, not like on purpose, because like he's never like setting out to hurt her, but like the fact that he's struggling so much and it trickles over onto her. Oh my god, it was devastating, but I loved it. Personally, the middle part of this book was my favorite because it really was making my gut churn reading it. The second book that made me cry this year is God of Fury by Rena Kent. I'm going to talk, I think, more about Legacy of Gods here, but this is the 5th book. You could read these all as standalones. I would highly suggest reading them in order because there is quite a bit of overlap between the characters, but I mean, you could just go ahead and pick this one up. But Bran's character in this one, he's one of our heroes. I love him. I love him. I felt so connected to him. I loved his story. And truly, there's something, I cannot spoil it, but there's something that happens at the end here, and seeing all of his kind of like worst fears come true, and then the aftermath of that, oh my god, I like want to cry just talking about it. I'm going to be doing a Legacy of Gods deep dive video where I'm going to spoil everything, because I just want to be able to give my full and complete thoughts to you guys without having to worry about spoiling things. So that will be coming in probably either later this month or like next month, whenever I get around to filming it. I will talk about that in depth there. But if you've read this book, I think you know what part I'm talking about, and if you haven't, then just give Nico and Bran a chance. But I would protect Bran at all costs. I would join Nico and Lan in their like vigilante-ness to protect him. Now I swear I just see like edits of it on TikTok with the audiobook and the like sad music playing. Oh my god, it's devastating. But I stop and watch every single one and torture myself all over again with it. Okay, book boyfriend. Listen, normally this would be a hard question, because do I have a piece of hair that's like, yep. Hopefully that wasn't like that all video. Sorry if that was bothering you. Book boyfriend. Normally this would be a hard question, because you know how hard it is for me to narrow down book boyfriends. I actually have a complete guide to my book boyfriends coming on Friday. I'm very excited for that video. It's honestly like kind of stupid, but it's fun. This year though, I was introduced to a man who has changed my life. I found a new favorite book boyfriend of all time. Like, I can't say number one because you can never ask me who my number one of all time is, but he is truly up there and giving every single one a run for their money. And that is Mr. Jeremy Volkov. If you've read this book, then you know. And I hope that if you've read this book, you aren't like, oh my God, Michaela, do you need help? No, maybe. Anyways, I love him. I honestly don't even, like, what more is there to say? Because I'm obviously not, like, giving synopses of these books. Let me just tell you. He's a stalker, first of all, which, real life, get away. But in a book, and he's doing it okay. He just, like, he loves Cecily. Well, he doesn't, but he does. He loves her so hard. And let's just say, so he starts stalking her. And she's caught his attention, and that is not something that he's like, you straight up don't want my attention. He's a mafia heir, and he's just, pretty psychotic. But let me tell you, he loves to chase her. Oh my God. And once again, I will talk all about it in my Legacy of Gods deep dive video, where I can just really get into the nitty gritty of things. And also I'll be talking about him in my guide to book boyfriends, because quite frankly, the things that I would do for this fictional man on paper, oh my God, I love him so much. He's not being topped. This book isn't being topped this year. I truly don't think I'm going to read another book that you know what, we'll get into that in a little bit. That's another question coming in later. Book that made you happy. I gotta pick it back up again. This is my answer for this book. Is this a happy, fluffy book? No. Is this like really heavy at times? Yes. Is this a dark book? Yes. But this book made me so inexplicably happy, because I think just the entire Legacy of God series this year has just really, not like revived my love of reading, because like I've always loved reading. Last year, previous years, it's no different. But I will just say there was something like magic with some of the series that I read back in 2020 and 2021. There are certain books from that era that you probably noticed me talking about a lot. The Off-Campus series, the Off-Balance series, Devil's Night series. Like, there are just these series that I read and loved so deeply, and I binged them, right? Like, I couldn't put them down. They just like they gave me everything that I needed. They just reminded me how much I loved reading, and that is what Legacy of Gods has done for me this year. It has reminded me why I love reading so much. It's the complete escapism of it. It's these characters that deal with hard things but still push through. They're incredibly well written. Like, I read these, like reading these books, I read them and I'm like, that makes me want to be a better writer, because I love the way that these books are written. Obviously, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but truly, like, I love Rena Kent's writing style, and I truly, like, I'm reading these and I'm like, these push me to make me want to be better. Where there are certain books that I read that I'm like, I'm enjoying whatever, but I'm not really thinking about that. These were ones where it's like, it makes me want to be better because I love them, and I love the feeling that I get from them. Truly, like, this book especially just made me happy reading it. I didn't want it to end, and that very rarely ever happens to me with books, where I like am almost putting it off because I don't want it to end. But this couple, their connection, everything about this book I love, and it truly like just made me enjoy reading so much and just like look forward to every single day. Like, every single evening when I could sit down and read this, I was just looking forward to it. I was like, can't wait for it to be like 8 o'clock when I can just sit down on the couch and read this, because truly, like, that's what I was looking forward to all day. It might be an odd choice because it is obviously a dark romance, but I don't care. It truly made me so happy. Next up, most beautiful book I bought this year. So honestly, I feel like I have tamed my book buying this year. Last year got kind of out of hand in terms of special editions. I was like, I couldn't get enough of them. And granted, have I still bought special editions this year? Yes, but I would say there are not as many that I bought this year as I have in previous years. But I'm kind of cheating a little bit with this one, but I can't not include it because yes, I am biased, but it truly is, I think, the most beautiful book that I've acquired this year. And that is my own special edition of Take You Down that Dark and Quirky did. It was a part of their winter book box with 3 other books and authors. And I was, first of all, just so excited to have this because I like never dreamed that I would have a special edition of one of my books. So to have one of my first book, like, that's wild to me. I'm obsessed with this. I've talked a little bit about the process of this, but this was truly like a one and done cover. Like, Gianna sent it and I was like, I love it. No complaints. I love having Scar on the front of it. I love the neon green because if you've read the book, you kind of know. I love the drums on the back. I love the formatting on the inside. I love the interior. Also, the artwork that comes with it. So this scene in particular is a scene between Walker and Scar when she dyes his hair. It's my favorite book. It's my favorite scene from this book, and still like one of my favorite scenes, I think, just like ever that I've written, quite frankly. I love the sprayed edges. Oh, here's the like bigger version that overlays on the actual pages. And let me find it. And then the chapters have like the crowds, because obviously it's Rockstar Romance. So technically, like, is that kind of cheating to choose my own book? Kind of, but also, once again, it's my video and I don't care. And I truly think that this is so stunning. And like, yes, obviously I'm biased, but I don't care. So I'm including that, but then also two other books that I love, The Fabric of Our Souls. I think this is stunning. This isn't even a special edition. This is a regular paperback, but I'm obsessed with this cover. I love anything like skulls and like the florals and everything, so I think that's really pretty. But also the interior formatting of this one is just insanely beautiful. And if I'm correct on this, I think Michaemarieauthor like drew these herself, which is just absolutely wild to me. Like, it's just a stunning ass paperback, especially for this being just like a regular one. And then lastly, guys, I'm sorry if you're so sick of hearing me talk about Legacy of Gods. I want to say I'm sorry, but I'm also like not sorry. Oh, God of War. Oh, it's in my bedroom. Okay, because I'm currently reading that one. Also, I'm going to go out on a limb to say the Legacy of God series are also some of the prettiest books that I've bought this year, because these men covers are insane. I will go so far to say that these are my favorite men covers I've ever seen. They are hands down the best men cover. So God of Malice is number one. God of Pain, I love. Creighton, listen, second favorite book boyfriend of the year. Love his. I mean, are you joking? These are literally the best men covers. Argue with a fucking wall, because you can't convince me otherwise. These are so beautiful. Yeah, they are, I would say, some of my favorite covers I've bought this year. And yeah, they're just basic men, but I don't care. They're so ridiculously good. Okay, books I need to read before the end of the year. I have 5, so I'm just going to kind of rapid fire them a little bit. And most of these are ones that are because I'm really trying to stay on top of series so that I don't keep falling behind. So ones that I really need to read by the end of the year: Cruel King by Raina Kent. This is the last book in the Royal Elite series that I have yet to read. Yes, I already went ahead and read the epilogue, but I was like, I don't really care. I kind of feel like I got enough of Astrid and Levi, especially like with their kids' books, to like be fine with it, but I do still want to read their book. Theirs is actually like technically number 0, but I have not read that one. If There's a Way by Jessie Walker, that is the second book of the If There's a Will duet, right? Or no, the Lost Boys duet. I've been putting it off. It's going to be an emotionally heavy book, and I loved the first book. It was a favorite of last year, so I'm just kind of putting it off also too, because I don't want to be done with them, even though I know that there's more books in that series. King of Sloth by Anna Huang, her most recent release. I'm finally caught up on the Kings of Sin series, and once again, I just don't want to get far behind on Kings of Sin, and I am genuinely really looking forward to this one with these two characters, Sloane and Xavier, is that right? By Frenzy I Ruin by Cora Riley. This is the 5th book in the Sins of the Father series, and it's a recent release this year as well. And this one is Remo's son and Fabiano and Leona's daughter. I'm really looking forward to this one, but once again, it was like as soon as I had finished book 4, I was ready to jump into book 5, and then I got out of the mood. So I'll read it when I'm ready for it. And last but not least, Unstitched by Elodie Hart, the 5th book in the Alchemy series. So again, obviously all books just a part of a series that I'm trying to keep up with, keep on top of. And Unstitched, so this one is an MMF one in that series, which I'm really interested by because she hasn't written any MMF in that series yet. So I'm really looking forward to it. Now, top books of the year so far. Are we surprised? Let me just get it out of the way. Listen, these are my top books of this year. God of Wrath is going to be at number 1. I will put all of these, like these, I'm going to say it right now, these are going to be number 1 this year. I truly don't see myself reading another book that would knock these out of first place. And how I typically do it with my top 10 lists, I will do like, if I have a series that I loved, I will do all of them as one, because that's so not fair. Like back when I read, you know, like Devil's Night, or even more recently when I read the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series, I was like, if I did individual books on my top 10 list, probably like 5 books would be taken up by that series. So Legacy of Gods is going to be at number 1, but in particular, then I always pick out like my most favorite, and God of Wrath is going to be number 1. I don't see anything topping that. I'm currently reading God of War, before you ask. Hopefully maybe by the time that this video goes up, I'll have finished. I have like barely been able to find any time to read lately, but oh my god, it's so good. So these are going at number 1. But then also my other just 2 that I've also really loved this year, King of Pride and Head in the Game by Rebecca Wraith. This is a coach athlete romance, age gap romance. I see both of these also being on my top 10. I don't see these probably getting bumped off at this point. I honestly could make a top 10 list right now and be really happy with the books on there. And these 2 I both also really, really loved. And last but not least is channel goals. So I feel like my goals for this channel have obviously changed over the years, like back probably when I first did this video. I would honestly be interested to look back to see what my like previous goals were. But my one goal, I guess, that I had for this channel this year was I wanted to hit 15,000, and I did. I hit that back at the beginning of June, and I was like proud of that. That was kind of like another milestone number, you know, like I feel like hitting like 1K, 2K, 5K, 10K, 15, like I feel like, you know, those are all kind of like the big milestones. So I was happy to hit that. I in no way like have another goal in terms of like reaching another milestone of that for this year. I was just kind of happy to hit 15K. And honestly, with this channel at this point, I just want to keep having fun with it. Obviously, with writing now, my content and stuff has shifted a little bit, but I'm still just getting to talk about the books that I love and enjoy. Like, I can't imagine having read Legacy of Gods and not having an outlet to talk about it, or like certain ones of these books, right? And I love being able to do videos and still make them. Like, it's still very fun for me, even though my focus, or more so my goals, I guess, for myself have kind of shifted to writing. So I will share, I guess, like a writing goal that I have, which I honestly kind of feel like, is this even a goal when this is going to happen? So Starting Line is releasing July 22nd. I'm hoping to maybe do my cover reveal this upcoming week. But anyway, Starting Line is going to be publishing within now almost a month of when this video goes up. So excited about that. I'm happy to get that one out. And then also I'm going to be having Take What You Want, Whispering Nothings Book 3 coming out in November. So I guess like that's goals to get those published, but Starting Line is like well underway, and Take What You Want is what I'm writing right now. But otherwise I'd like to, like numbers wise, I'd like to hit like 500,000 pages read on KU by the end of the year. We'll see. That's, you know, I guess my like number goal, since like hitting 15K for this channel was like my number goal and I hit that, then like I'll go ahead and like put out that I'd like to hit 500,000 page reads on KU, which to some authors is nothing, but to me that would be like pretty big. So yeah, I guess, and also then publish those 2 more books this year. So anyways, that is it for this mid-year book tag everything, I think, right? I think that was all the questions, all of the books. Now time to play librarian and reshelve these back on there. But anyways, that is it for today's video. Like I said, I'm going to have McKay's Ultimate Guide to Book Boyfriends up on Friday. It's honestly kind of unhinged. It's like, also I'm kind of like, what is even the point of the video, except just to like have fun. Okay, I'm just trying to have fun with videos. So we'll see. Hopefully you guys like it and are entertained by it. But that's going to be up Friday. And then I think next week already is like chat, chill, and get ready with me time. And then we're already to like TBR and wrap up, because literally June is already almost over. It's like halfway over already, which honestly makes me sick to my stomach, because stop going by so fast, especially in the summer. But anyways, that is it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.